Welcome friends. Today we are going to discuss innovation for sustainable goals. This is for how sustainable goals declared by United Nations, we need innovation to reach them. So what is sustainability? Sustainability shall take care of three broad aspects. One is people. People means your employees, your stakeholders, the government, and even the people surrounding, living in your near your factory. So they are all stakeholders. So people and your consumers, society at large, all this comes under people. So any of your business, if it is to be sustainable, we should take care of all the stakeholders. Ignoring even one stakeholder can prove costly at a later date. So you should take care of the various segments of people, rather stakeholders, who are all associated with your business. It can be customers, it can be your employees, it can be the people who are living in the surroundings, government, all others who are connected with our business directly or indirectly. The second aspect is profit. No business can survive without a reasonable profit. Okay. So it is obvious that the business shall be sustainable, and profitable. So these are all there for a very long time. There is a third dimension to this, which perhaps people realized and got added, is planet. During the course of your operations, your business, you should not harm the planet. If you harm the planet in any way, soon it is going to bounce back. For example, if you are polluting too much into atmosphere, then the government can levy a green tax on you. So it may erode into your profits. Ultimately, your business will collapse. So we should ensure that all our processes are re-engineered so that these processes are sustainable and it will not harm the planet in the long run. What are the sustainable goals? UN has very beautifully described and listed these sustainable goals, which is across board. It is applicable for all the countries. It is not country specific. The 17 goals are applicable for all the countries, but some of the goals may be more relevant for certain countries. So these goals, 17 goals, if you can sustain, if you can achieve, then you are in a sustainable path. Ultimately, you will achieve happiness and prosperity, and you will not harm in the process the planet. Not only the people, the planets, stakeholders are here. Not only people, there are the many animals, many species, many plants. So all have right to live in a peaceful way. So our operations are such that we should not harm any of them for our sustainability. So these goals, we are going to discuss about some of these goals in detail. The fourth goal, quality education, is most relevant for our kind of situation. So if you put that in a tabular fashion, these are the goals. End poverty is the topping the list. So end poverty, bring out millions people from the poverty to at least middle class or affluent section. So nobody should sleep out with hunger. So zero hunger. We should available food at a reasonable cost to people. Third one is good health and well-being. This is gained extreme importance after recent outbreak of pandemic. So we realized that health is very important. In this earlier, we are not spending that much money on the health related aspects. Even all the governments have increased their spending. For example, even in our country, the both central and state government, particularly Telangana, has improved a lot of health infrastructure. They created new 8 medical colleges in a single day. So that much importance they are giving for the infrastructure, and the goal that is to reach good health for all is the, and even central government has increased the spending on the health. The fourth one is very relevant to us. It is on the quality education. Quality education is very paramount for the, it is paramount to bring the people out of poverty. If you provide a good education to people, they come up in life and they come out of the poverty. So to remove poverty, quality education is a must. Unfortunately, things are not so good at present. We have what is known as in this country the tuition culture. We are spending a lot of hours and money, resources for sending our people to tuition. That means something lacuna in the desired curriculum, or the method of teaching, or the quality of teaching. And this is sometimes also true that everything is okay in the school, teaching is okay, where students are able to absorb the content, and even then parents, after reaching home after the class, just to in order to be competitive in imaginary competition, they were sending again the child to tuition for 2 more hours after finishing of the school hours. So that is killing into his sports activity, killing into pursuing his hobby, all this. So it is to be avoided. So that means we have to strengthen our school infrastructure and provide good education in the school itself. So much so that the current market of the tuitions in this country is 58,000 crores, and it is feared that it is going to go up to 1,30,000 crores, which is all eating into parental resources, and even government uh, budget. So if the money is available for other purpose, some other good things would have been, like quality of health can be improved. So we should somehow come out of this thing by strengthening the school education system. So other goals are listed, even life under water, life under sea, life under water. That is also one of the goal. Life below water is the goal, which is thought about it. So everywhere equality of gender, peaceful coexistence, partnerships, all this. Climatic action is a big term, and people are going to spend billions of dollars to achieve this. We are going to discuss this in very detail. So what are the focus areas for the clean tech? We have improved, we have to, the top in this list is, we have to improve the energy. We have to use energy very efficiently in our process. Okay. We have to consume minimum resources of air, water, and we have to generate minimum waste. Okay. Agriculture. Yeah, the population is increasing, more and more food demand is going to come. So we have to do a sustainable agriculture and more productivity. Energy, some of the renewables cannot be stored. So some of them are not available. For example, solar energy not available during night. So that brings the energy storage. When demand is there, we should, when the source supply is not there, we should consume from the energy storage. It can be a battery energy storage. It can be a hydel type of dam energy water storage. So the energy storage is a high priority area. Our grid is not very smart. Our grid is going to be subjected to a lot of renewable energy to be fed into the grid. The renewable energy, by the nature, it is a very variable nature. It swinging very high during the day. Suddenly the generation comes down because of one cloud cover comes in that area. Till that time, a lot of solar energy is produced. So how to cope up with sudden dip in the supply? So there's some grid stabilizing techniques and algorithms and smart using AI. We have to improve the grid. Then biofuels is another area. Sustainable. The petroleum took millions of years to form, and we are just consuming all of it in less than 200 years, which is not sustainable. So we have to change our fuels usage from the petroleum type resources to biofuels like ethanol, methanol. So government already taken initiative to mix these alcohols, ethyl alcohol, methanol alcohol into diesel and petrol to which are sustainable. And now currently we are trying to mix at least 20% as a renewable resources into the petroleum resources. So transportation, one big area where a lot of shift is seen from the petrol diesel vehicles to electric vehicles. But one caution is the electricity required for generating the running the CVs shall be from the renewable source. Then it is renewable. Suppose that is once again coming from the coal plant, then that objective is not met. The transportation shall be run on electricity, which is a green electricity, which is produced from renewable sources. Then recycling, lot of business activities going to be there, particularly lithium-ion battery recycling, municipal waste recycling. All this is gaining importance. So these are the focus areas. In simple terms, what is sustainability? It is said, meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Means, suppose we consume all the petroleum available in the earth layers, then future generation, even they dig 2 kilometers in the ground, they will not find any petroleum. So we are consuming at too fast rate than what petroleum can form in the ground. It took millions of years to form these resources. So, but we are consuming just in 200 years. So that is not a sustainable practice. We should switch over to sustainable practices. So why is the sustainable business practices so important? So if your company is sustainable, more and more profit you are going to earn because you are getting a loyal customers. Any company that is practicing sustainable practices, people would like to associate with it, even though it may be little costlier to start with, but later on, since they are using a sustainable practices, they save a lot of energy, they reduce their wastage. So operations become more and more efficient. Ultimately, it will be cheaper. Maybe to start with, it will be costly, but in a very short span of time, it will become sustainable and economical too. There is a misconception in the business circles that anybody adopting sustainable process may end up in losses. It is not so. There is a survey done by this McKinsey. So it was told that they have surveyed around 3,000 different small, medium and big companies. They are all declared that after adopting sustainable practices, their profit will increase, not reduced. What are the parameters that define sustainability? We told actually profit. Profit comes under economic prosperity, return on investment, what is the stock market share, all these economic parameters will come under economic prosperity, which is a must for any business. The second aspect is we should not harm the planet. That comes under environmental stewardship. We should be, our product shall be eco-friendly. We should consume less energy. We should not emit harmful gases, greenhouse gases. Okay, we should use as much as renewable energy. All this comes under environmental stewardship. The third dimension is with respect to people, social responsibility. So, what is that? Worker safety, public safety, local jobs, and to that extent possible, source your raw material from the local sources so that you avoid the transportation cost and the energy associated with transportation. So all these parameters bring you into social responsibility net, which is people friendly. If you don't do anything, what is the prediction? So the world population in 2010 is 6 billion, 600 crore. It is becoming 800 crores very soon in 2030. That is increase of 33% in just 20 years. The demand for food is going to increase 50%. Even though population is increasing only 30%, the demand for food is 50%. The explanation could be many people are currently not able to afford the food, means they were not having 3 meals a day. They are maybe sustaining with only 1 meal a day or a 1.5 meal a day. So if they are coming out of the poverty, they are affordable the food they can afford, and they can afford the food, more food demand is natural. So that time the food demand could increase to 50%. Water demand is almost like 30%, which is proportional to population. So that is understood. But if you see energy demand is increasing 50%, whereas population increase only 33% by 2030. Why this energy increase? Because people are coming out of the poverty, becoming more affordable. They were increasingly using energy for their day-to-day needs. For example, earlier 10 years back, not many air conditioners were seen. Now all the houses were having air conditioners, which we know is an energy guzzler. So demand for electricity is going to go up 50%, even though population is 30%. So the big question is how to provide food, energy, and health for this increasing population. So let us see some of the industries which has taken the sustainability path, and they still improved their profitability. They didn't make losses. They improved sustainability. They improved their market share. They improved friendly features to earth. Still, even after these actions, the profit has increased. It's not decreased. So one good example is Nestle. How they were earlier doing is they make coffee powder. So coffee, the plants they are buying, the coffee plants, after packing the coffee plant, they are roasting the coffee plants using the natural gas. They are buying the natural gas. Now what they are doing is, instead of buying a natural gas, they stopped using that resource. From the plant waste, only they are burning that plant waste, generating steam. That energy they are using for the roasting the coffee beans. So they achieved something like 80% of that energy usage reduction by switching over to more sustainable energy resource, and they avoided the earlier they are sending this waste, agriculture waste, to landfills. They now not sending much of the agriculture waste to landfills. By in 20 years time, they saved something like 1.4 million tons of waste, agriculture waste, filling the landfills. Dell is a very famous company which are into computers, laptops, tabs, and all that. Their main thing is they were packing the computers with a soft packing, which they were using a lot of plastics. So this company has determined to migrate from plastics to more environment friendly, biodegradable, and those products made from the agriculture based product like mushroom, renewable product, wheat straw, bamboo. Now 80% of the Dell's products into the market are coming with the sustainable packing. It's a great achievement, and they are likely to achieve full sustainability, net zero, by year 2025. Here one word I use, net zero. What do you mean by net zero? Net zero is a word coined by United Nations to indicate a state where we will not completely stop emitting CO2 into atmosphere, but we will release only a measured quantity of CO2, which how much I am releasing to atmosphere, same quantity shall be absorbed by our plants. So either we should increase more plants or we should reduce our emissions. Then we will achieve net zero. This is one company called Gravity Labs. They were collecting carbon dioxide from atmosphere, like pollution, industries, vehicles. From the CO2, they were collecting the carbon C as a solid carbon or liquid carbon. They are converting that to valuable products like ink, fuels, alcohol. Many products they were generating from that collected ink. So they are mimicking like a plant. Plants are known to absorb the CO2 to produce agriculture crop. The carbon, agriculture crop is basically constitute of carbon and hydrogen, hydrocarbons. So plant requires two things, carbon and hydrogen. From the water, what we pour to the plants, they are collecting the water. Hydrogen is collected from H2O water. The carbon for the plant is coming from the atmosphere. They are absorbing the CO2 gas from the atmosphere, separating the C and using for the agriculture products. So this company is mimicking like a plant. This is one company which is into fabrics and fashionable clothing. Their achievement is remarkable. They will not buy even one cotton plant or a cotton this thing. Instead, they focus on the recycling. They collect all the waste cloth that is discarded by people. Not necessarily they are worn out, but damaged. Because out of the cloth style has become out of fashion after few 1 or 2 years. That cloth will be sold in the market by the people, or they'll be simply thrown into the waste. So these people are collecting that fabrics. They are extracting the threads from that fabric. Using the threads, brand new dresses they are making. The shown in the picture, the jerkin is completely made up of threads collected from the waste cloth. This is another company, Rooftop Farms. They have a presence in India also. You show them the open space on the rooftop of your factory, office, residential building. They will come and plant the agriculture farm-like thing, so that there are two benefits. One is you are growing agriculture crop, which is a product you can sell it, or you can fresh, pest-free, harvested on your own rooftop. You can use it for your own purpose, niche. But that is only a small percent of benefit. The major benefit is in the form of, we know the sun's energy falling on the rooftop, 30% of it is going into the building. So the what is inside going into the building, the heat, 30% of it is coming from the roof. So the AC loads is increasing. I am spending more energy to pump out that heat. If I grow this kind of a crop like thing on the rooftop, then the heat energy is stopped. The heat is absorbed by the plants for becoming agriculture product. Less heat is going into the building. So I need less air conditioning. So less energy I am spending on this. This is another company, Eco 365. This is based out of Pune in India. They are working on two innovations. They invented one biodegradable packing material, looking like a plastic but not plastic. So that can get digested into the earth within 30 days after you put to use into the after your use. You put it in the soil in 30 days sharp. This gets completely degraded. So it's very environmental friendly product. The second innovation they are working is on the water conservation. So this particular tap, it is looking like our kitchen tap, but a beautiful tap. It consumes only 1/6 of the energy compared to a normal tap. If you see the tip of that water, there are fine holes which makes the water comes like a jet. The water more flow is not the one which is cleaning our hand. What is cleaning our hand is jet of water. It should come very great velocity. Force is cleaning the responsible cleaning action. So they designed such a tap that the water comes with a great force, so that less water itself is sufficient for cleaning. This is another company which has done innovations to help the customers to avoid 800 million tons of emissions. Schneider is a very big international company. Orsted has moved from normal resources like coal-based power plants to wind-based farms. So they cultivated carefully many wind farms in the where a lot of wind is there in the field in some distant place. They wheel that energy from the wind farm to their production centers. So that's why they are completely migrated to a sustainable form of energy. So they perhaps very near to close to reaching the net zero. This is an airliner with a purpose. They in and airline industry consumes a lot of fuel. Okay, aviation turbine fuel or the kerosene. So for the jet engines, lot of fuel is required. What these people are doing, they are calculating for each flight how much it kerosene or aviation ATC is being used. Suppose they are consuming some 6 tons of fuel for a particular flight. 6 tons of fuel is creating around 18 tons of CO2. So they are calculating back how many trees required to be planted to absorb this 18 tons of CO2. So that much plants they are using every day. So for each flight, they are calculating how many trees, more trees to be planted. They are planting those trees continuously. So they were addressing the goal number 13, climatic action, and they were net zero already. Very famous companies Nike and Adidas, they were into footwear and apparels. So they were pledged to reach net zero target in 2025. What they have done is they reduced the waste and used the renewables for their manufacturing of the products. Similarly, we have Nestle and Unilever. These two companies also pledged to become net zero very soon. Their first target is packing. All the packing they want to do is with the sustainable materials like Dell has done. They want to reach the target by 2025. Walmart, IKEA, and H&M are very famous into the consumer goods space. IKEA is very famous. We have presence of IKEA in Hyderabad. So they have very good sustainable practices. They were using the transportation fully green vehicles. So they are using renewable energy to charge their fleet vehicles so that the transportation is fully environmental friendly, and also they are packing with a kind of a biodegradable material. So what is the India's stand on this? India has developed these goals, nationally determined contributions from India, which they agreed and reiterated in the recent August 2022, the conference. It's called COP27. So India is targeting to reduce energy intensity of the GDP by 45%. Currently, they are at 0.47 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions for $1,000 of GDP. Two, they want to reach this figure to reduce from 0.47 to 0.31 metric tons of carbon dioxide per $1,000 of GDP. This is the target. So India want to completely become net zero by 2070. What are the activities that is comes under sustainability? You have to have a reasonable corporate social responsibility. You have to address the grievances. You have to have a regulatory compliance. You have to meet all the environmental laws. You have to be doing all the social activity which is people friendly. All these activities comes under sustainability. So even the packing you use shall be certified as a biodegradable. There is a TUV SUD certification for a biodegradable packing materials. If you use that, that is sustainable packing. So this brings to the question that what are the major reasons for this global warming? Global warming is caused by the entrapment of gases in the Earth atmosphere. The list of the gases that are responsible for this is largely CO2, carbon dioxide, but there are some other gases like methane, and we also have CFCs, which are used for refrigeration industry. So those are the gases which are trapping the heat in the Earth atmosphere and causing the globe temperature to increase. If the globe temperature increases to 1.52 degrees, lot of changes in the environment can take place. disastrous results. These are some of the results. So biggest worry about this is the oceans, lot of ice caps will melt. Lot of you have polar ice and all melting can happen with this 2 degrees increase in temperature, and ocean's level will rise by nearly 1 meter. If the ocean level rises, many cities go under the water. For example, you have a Colombo, Sri Lanka. There is a New York in the USA. Even Bombay has the threat that lot of mass Bombay area can come under water. It is disastrous, and available land space will reduce for a population to live and do agriculture. So we should somehow halt this melting of the ice and sea level increase. But it is not that totally CO2 is not required by atmosphere. Some amount of CO2 in the atmosphere is desired for crops, because crops are absorbing CO2 to make agriculture produce. What is the then ideal? Ideal value is around less than 300 ppm. 280 to 300 ppm is most ideal for the crops to grow healthy and give a good production of the agriculture crop. But the current level is very high, something like 20-30% more than what is desired. It is at 412. Today the atmospheric CO2 is 412, and it is feared soon we may reach 450 mark. 450 mark, if it is achieved, it is absolute disaster. And this rate of rise is varying, because in 2000, it is only 370 ppm. In just 20 years, it reached from 370 to 412. So another 50 points it can reach by 2040 or something, if you don't do any climatic action. So how much of carbon dioxide is going to be formed if I burn 1 kg of coal? So coal, we know, is carbon. Carbon is having a molecular weight of 12. That if combined with oxygen, which is having a molecular weight of 32, the CO2 weight going to be produced is 44. So 12 kgs of carbon is producing 44 kgs of CO2. Then 1 kg of carbon produces 44 divided by 12. That is something close to 3.66 kg of CO2. We also want to calculate this, how much, if I burn 1 kg of petrol or diesel, how much is the CO2 emission. But one drawback is we don't have a formula for petrol or diesel, because petrol or diesel not a uniform homogeneous chemical, so it will not have a formula. The petrol or diesel have billions of compounds in that. Anything that is boils between a certain temperature to certain temperature range is collected in the fractionating column in a refinery and sold as a petrol. These have millions of compounds. So what is the alternative? So there is one chemical called octane, which is chemical name is C8H18, which is exhibits similar properties like the petrol. So we can take for all practical purpose that chemical for calculation. So we used that as this calculation. So this is also comes to around 3.08 kg of CO2 emission for each kg of petrol or diesel burning. Where India stands with respect to emissions. So we have country of population with 142 crores. So it's a large population. Our per capita for each person in India, the average emission for the person is 2.4 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. What is the world average? World average is much higher. 6.3 tons of CO2 is released by world. India is per person it is lower value only, but since we are having too much population, our total quantity is considerable value. That's why we are third largest emitter after China and US. China is total global CO2 emissions with 30% China, because China is equal population, almost close to Indian population, similar to 1.142 crores. There is a reason why China is emitting more. Lot of corporations set up their factories in China because of cheap labor or whatever it is. So world's factory, China is called world's factory. Lot of goods are being produced, electronic goods, manufacturing goods, steel and all. So whenever you do activity, manufacturing activity, CO2 is a natural production there. So China, that's why it is more production. But India is not having that much production, but still our CO2 production per $100 of GDP, if you say that figure you compare, we are on the higher side. So India has committed to reduce our intensity of CO2 emission per $1,000 GDP to 0.31. Okay, which one is contributing in India for emissions? Industry is contributing 31%. That industry mainly consists of two industries, rather three industries. Steel making. Steel making is exhaustive. It consumes a lot of energy. 1 ton of steel production requires 1 ton of coal. Huge amount of energy spent for making steel. Similarly, cement also. Cement and steel is the large consumer of energy, which is produced using the coal. So that's why 31% is the industrial contribution. Agriculture. Agriculture is using electricity for producing, for feeding the water to the plants. And also there is some biological process in agriculture that is also releasing waste decomposition and all. So there also CO2 emission is happening, which perhaps we cannot avoid. Transport we can avoid, because transportation, if you migrate to EVs, those EVs shall be charged with renewable energy, then this 10% can come down to 2 or 3%. Buildings are consuming 5%. Building like this with a lot of air conditioners and other things contributing to a lot of energy. These figures are perhaps 2015 or something. Now actually buildings are consuming 7.5%. The LCT generation is the largest consumer of coal, and which is responsible for 30% emissions. This particular figures were perhaps in the year 2010. This figure is somewhat later, maybe close to 2016. This figure in 2016, lot of 50% that LCT generation we are using. Buildings has increased from 5% to 7.5%. Transport has increased 5% to 10%. So other industrial process, it has actually come down from 30 to 20%. Non-combustible means that is the CO2 produced from agriculture operations. So MIT has done a study, around 300 companies. They found that whoever switched to sustainability path, they actually saved. Their profit has increased from 23% to 37% average profit. So as I discussed in the COP27 meeting, India has committed to the world that they are going to achieve net zero by 2020. It is a lot of effort from all of Indians. We all has to do something to reach this target. So which the component, which element can replace carbon? If you use carbon for any of your operations, you are going to produce CO2. But if you can use instead of carbon, there is another element called hydrogen that also have energy. C plus O2 CO2. I don't want to generate CO2. So I will use hydrogen. H plus O2, H2O, which is nothing but water vapor. So any amount of water vapor generated is not harmful for the environment. So switch over to hydrogen instead of carbon. That is the target. India is trying to do it. Recently, Cabinet has approved 20,000 crores of investment to generate green hydrogen. So industry people are using the green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, lot of names. But in the chemistry we studied in the school, that hydrogen is a colorless and odorless chemical. So it don't have any color actually. But industry is using these names to depict the hydrogen is made from what source. If I use coal to generate hydrogen, then it's called black hydrogen. If I use renewables like solar energy to generate hydrogen, then it is first class green energy. But if it's in between, I use natural gas, it is a grey energy. So there are types. The color of the hydrogen is named based on what is the production method of hydrogen. So what are the tips to make your industry sustainable? The first step you can easily do is, instead of using plastics, you use the biodegradable packing, which means you use food or a kind of agriculture waste to make the soft outer packing. We are consuming a lot of paper day to day. Every day we are consuming 65 million papers. So if you, that means it is resulting in cutting the lot of trees to make the paper. If you can switch over to digital mode, don't print unless it is a must. So move towards digital transactions, then you use less paper. Hard copies should be discouraged. Conserve water. Water consumes resources. Water is sustain. The clean water available in the world is only 4%. A lot of other water is not usable, like seawater is not usable for a human use. So, very precious commodity, water conservation is greatly welcomed, which is sustainable. For instead of using for your operations a normal coal-based energy, try to switch over to solar or wind for your operation if possible. Use as much renewable energy. Invest in green projects, means invest in projects where people can make green hydrogen, such things. So recycle your products after the one use, then send, suppose this metals and all collect, again send it for recycling. Even lithium ion batteries, there is a program for recycling them, separate the metal, again use it for battery making. So educate your employees on the sustainability aspects is one thing. And also your supply chain is now dependent on the petrol or diesel. Now try to migrate to renewable energy and EVs based upon the renewable energy. Then you are using less fuel and you are sustainable path. So to know more about this, you partner with, there are many NGOs, non-profit organizations working for sustainability. Partner with them. They will guide us how to become more sustainable. So recycle or donate this equipment. So don't throw it. Try to reuse, and there are many people who need this old furniture, so that they need not have to buy and create additional demand for the office equipment. So wherever space is available, plant trees in your office space. So after having this discussion and seeing this, so what is it we have in it? Sustainability. Is it a curse or is it a opportunity? It looks upon how you look at it. If you look at an opportunity, yes, it's $1 billion opportunity. India is going to spend $9.2 trillion by 2050 to become sustainable. This creates millions of jobs. This creates a lot of opportunities. That is the positive side of it. So don't see this as a threat. Just see as an opportunity. So your progress and your business becomes sustainable. So we have two choices. If you don't do anything, no action, climatic action, then there is a tragic tomorrow. We'll consume all the resources. No resources will be left for our future generations. Or you take a sustainable path, reduce your CO2 emissions, reduce the global temperature rise, then you have a bright future. So finally, switch to greener alternatives wherever possible for your business. The plant will thank you. Thank you very much for listening to this sustainability innovation. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.